chair here. Sorry about that. Okay, so for me, one of the things that I have worked on pretty hard and continue to be very interested in is funding for our communities. So work with me here in terms of the complexity of this issue, because the other thing that's been interesting to me is youth and economic development. I have a vision in our state that starts with the youth and I think ends with a more prosperous economy and a more diverse economy in the energy industry. What I would really do, if I could, it would take more than a day, I would like to see us implement a curriculum at the grade school level that taught children the skills that they need to problem solve and learn to be entrepreneurs. We have to accept that energy is our primary industry in this state, but you can have diversity within an industry. You know, we have a business and we sell lots of different types of things that all are relative to one specific thing, a beverage. That creates diversity in our business, and it creates a more even playing field for us all the time. We don't have the huge fluctuations. I think that if we taught our children today how to make decisions, how to be entrepreneurs, we could build an economy in the future that would create the revenue streams, that would create the quality of life, keep our kids here in the state, and hopefully build a more prosperous future for all of us. So if I were dictator for a day, I wouldn't call myself a dictator, but that's what I do.
Mr. Rasmus?
Thank you. Chris Rothfuss for Wyoming Senate. If I were dictator for a day, the first consideration would probably be to pass some legislation to make myself a dictator for longer. But upon ruling that out, and unfortunately only having one thing, I'd give some serious thought to what I would consider to be the most challenging issue I think that we've got ahead of us in the state of Wyoming, which is to reduce healthcare costs dramatically. So if I was the dictator for one day, I would try and take those healthcare premiums down to about 50% of what they're at right now, which is a much more reasonable value, I think. We've seen, obviously, exponential growth of healthcare premiums over the last decade plus. That's totally unacceptable. It is totally out of line with any cost of living adjustment, any inflationary index, anything else you can imagine. And yet, in the recent federal legislation, we saw a lot of expanded coverage, but regrettably, we didn't see anything that was really reducing the costs for us, you know, what's coming out of our pockets. There's a lot we can do, I think, at the state level that can try to diminish those costs. But one of the first things that I think we should be doing is looking at ways to work around the McCarran-Ferguson Act of 1945, which basically gives an exemption to the health insurance and healthcare provider industry from the Antitrust Act. I don't know if all of you know that, but they are allowed to collude on prices. Major League Baseball and the healthcare industry. Those are your antitrust exceptions. Everyone else, unfortunately, has to play by the rules. So that would be my one-day dictatorship. Thank you.
That's everyone, I believe, right?
Yes.